Welcome to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia Defazio, and I'm joined today by Prashant Sabapathi and Nick Innerbichler of Elite Income Advisors. Gentlemen, welcome. It's so good to see you both again.
Great to see you again.
How have you both been?
Been good. You know, we've been staying really busy.
Yes.
A lot of callers been calling in with great questions, and we've been helping prepare a lot of plans for folks. So Nick and I and our entire team have been busy as ever, which is why we do this ultimately. So feel really good about it.
Yeah, doing a lot of traveling back and forth between our two offices in Columbia and Annapolis, and seeing our clients there on regular basis and in person, which has been great to see people again in person.
Yes, because we've talked about that. You are both so hands-on with your clients, and you really enjoy that face-to-face interaction because it's so important when you're building relationships, and you're both so passionate about that. So it's nice to hear that you're getting back in front of people. Prashant, we've had a lot of viewer questions, but one specifically keeps coming up more than anything else. Everyone wants to know what's going on with your wedding being delayed due to COVID-19.
So yeah, COVID's been a tough year for a lot of folks. I did delay my wedding. Yeah. It was scheduled for the summertime, and we pushed it into next year, but at this point, we've decided we're getting married next year no matter what.
Good.
So it doesn't matter who shows up or who's allowed to show up. We'll go ahead and get it done next year. But I appreciate you asking. Thank you.
Definitely. Well, everyone wants to know. Everyone is curious. What's going on with his wedding? So I want to talk to you both a little bit today, obviously, about planning for retirement, because really that's the most important component and the main body of the show, of course. But I want to talk to you a little bit about the fact also just income planning in general. Yeah. How important is that playing into the whole retirement picture, if you will, Prashant?
Nick and I talk about this a lot. Oftentimes you're conditioned to reach a number to retire. How much do I need to retire, right? And for us, we don't really focus on that. What we like to focus on is how much do you have to have coming in on a monthly basis so that you're able to have the most abundant, most fulfilling retirement that you can have.
Sure.
And so for us, it's not so much about building your net worth to a certain number, but it's more so about determining how much income you need to feel really comfortable in retirement. And you know, what we help people do is identify where their income is going to come from. How certain is that income going to be? How is it going to be taxed? And what happens to it when one person, if you're married, when one spouse passes away? And so if you haven't started to ask these types of questions, this is what working with a distribution specialist like Nick and myself are. Those are some of the things that we can help you address.
Okay.
And it's something people don't really think about. When we ask that question, how much income do you think you need in retirement? We get a lot of blank stares.
Sure.
Right? It's not a lot of people budget. They kind of just go on with their lives as they make money, they spend it and save some of it. But they've never really thought that far ahead to figure out, hey, when I'm done working, do I need exactly the same amount coming in every month that I have now? Is it less? Is it more? And that's what we do. As Prashant said, a lot of advisors focus on the accumulation phase, helping you grow your assets to that magic number you can put under your arm, like in that one commercial. But for us, it's not that. It's what's important is how do you distribute it, and how do all of the things you have, your pension, your Social Security, your retirement assets, dividends, how do they all play together to make sure that you have the lifetime income in retirement that you need and want?
Absolutely.
And if you don't know the answer to that question, how much income do I feel like I need in retirement? That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, it's natural to not have spent too much time thinking about that because we're conditioned to save our money.
Sure.
But as we get closer and closer to actually retiring, we really need to start to figure out what we want the income to look like. You know, dealing with a lot of our clients, they don't even know until a year after they've retired what their retirement income is going to look like. And so our goal is always going to be to try to recreate the income you have while you're working and see if we can have that same level of income heading into retirement. Because if you're comfortable now, you'll be comfortable in retirement on the same or more income, we believe.
So Prashant, it's kind of like test driving retirement, if you will, right?
That's
Wouldn't
a
it
great
be?
way to put it,
And then you can kind of see if it's going to work out and what needs to be tweaked and what needs to be planned for. Nick, is there one specific area that people fail to plan for? Would that be taxes, long-term care?
I don't know that there's one. I think there's several, right? So taxes is always a big component. Am I going to have enough tax-free income in retirement is all going to be taxable, because pensions and Social Security and retirement accounts all have some sort of taxation. But one of the biggest ones are medical expenses, whether it's a dental emergency or a healthcare emergency. And Prashant has talked about in the past, his mom and my mom both are dealing with Parkinson's and dementia and Alzheimer's. And that's a huge thing that people don't necessarily think to plan about. It's in my family, it's in his family, so it's obviously important for our future, but it's also very important for us to have those conversations with our clients. So you build in that potential expense.
Right. Absolutely, because I think so often when you are dealing with something like that, your natural instinct is you want to keep your loved one home with you as long as possible, until you reach the point where you realize that you really can't take care of that person on your own. So you have to have a plan in place to encompass that.
You do. You have to have a plan. And here's another thing. I mean, unfortunately, given what's going on in the world right now, we've seen people pass away this year, unfortunately. And that's one of the worst parts of what we do, is having to, go through that with our clients. But we also have to look at the impact that, if you're married, what happens to your income if one spouse passes away, right?
Yeah.
So we may lose part of a pension. We certainly lose one of the two Social Security benefits. So if you don't know, if one spouse passes away, the lower of the two Social Security benefits will go away forever. So that creates an inherent loss of income. And so we have to be able to have a plan in place to deal with that type of situation.
And on top of that, Prashant, would that also be the case where you have the spouse that passes away, obviously, then you have the person that's left behind? Do they now have to file their taxes as a single person versus married?
That's a great point that you're bringing up there. Yeah, so in the year following the year of passing, you will have to start to file as a single filer. And so that's going to change potentially your tax bracket and tax rates. And so having a plan in place before any of that even happens is the best way to kind of deal with it. And it's a tough thing to talk about, death and losing somebody, but I would rather that we talk about it up front and be fully prepared, heaven forbid it should happen, rather than try to scramble at the last minute when you have your mind on other things. And so certainly we're hoping that nothing like that happens to folks anytime soon, but it's just kind of the reality of the world we live in, especially today.
Absolutely, and I love the fact that you're both so passionate about planning for something like that, because again, like you mentioned, Prashant, you're going through something so emotional, then you have a loss of income and then potentially a different tax bracket that you're being thrown into. So without having a plan in place, it can be overwhelming for that person that's left behind.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We see that a lot. And so, that's why we offer the consultation that we do. And so our phone number is 833-308-5200. We have operators standing by ready to take your call. It's only for the first 10 callers each week, simply because we always fill up all the slots and we're busy preparing plans for folks. But when you call into that phone number, you'll be able to schedule a time to meet with myself, with Nick, and the rest of our team of fiduciaries. And when you meet with us, we'll sit down and we'll have a conversation about what you want your retirement to look like and how we can help you get there. So the phone number to reach us is 833-308-5200.
Prashant, thank you so much. Nick, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, the phone lines are now open. That number to call is 833-308-5200. If you don't currently have a plan in place for retirement, Prashant and Nick can help you have the perfect plan just for your needs. Let them design that plan for you. Again, this opportunity is available to the first 10 callers only. That number to call is 833-308-5200. We'll be right back after this very short commercial break.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan. This is a $999 value that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have. By running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no-obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Welcome back to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia Defazio, and I'm joined today by Prashant Sabapathi and Nick Innerbichler of Elite Income Advisors. Gentlemen, a great first segment to the show, and I do want to talk to you a little bit further about the loss of a spouse, if you will. Obviously, I know you've had a lot of client losses this year, people that have lost spouses, and I think everyone has been affected by COVID in one way, shape, or form. But specifically for someone, Prashant, who has lost a loved one, what can you do to help them get through that process? I know obviously the emotional piece is one component, but what about how the retirement plan helps?
Right, and so one of the things that we always like to focus on is, like we talked about in the first segment, is your income, right? And so when we have an inherent drop off in income, we have to be able to address that in one of two ways, right? We always talk about two different things. One, we can insure your life, or we can insure your assets, right? If we insure your life through something like a life insurance policy, that can replace a loss of a pension or a loss of one of those social securities if something were to happen to one spouse.
Okay.
When we talk about insuring your assets, in the last maybe decade or so, there have been these plans out there where you can actually take something like your 401k or your pension or an IRA account and turn them into an income that will actually last for your life, but not just your life, your spouse's lifetime as well. And that can help you to offset some of the losses of those Social Security and pension benefits when one spouse passes away. So that's one small idea that you can kind of take and look at and evaluate if it makes sense for you, which is something that we can help you do.
Absolutely. And Nick, have you had this experience recently in the office with someone?
Yeah, and as you mentioned, I mean, we've had, I think, more clients pass in the last year than I've seen in my entire, not necessarily COVID deaths, but just deaths. And that's always a hard day when you pick up that phone and somebody you've worked with for a long time has passed away. But it is something that we can, for a lot of our existing clients, we've already taken care of the planning process. We've put into place the what happens when somebody dies. And you know, for our male clients, we always joke, and with the wife they always laugh, but the men are typically going to go before the women, and we always want to make sure that their spouse is comfortable and well taken care of. And over the last year, I mean, I've had that conversation probably a dozen times, and the clients, I think 10 out of 10 are in a good situation and know that, one, their husband did a very good job and trusted us to work with them to put together that plan. So we didn't see big reductions in income, but it was a great conversation, or an easier conversation, to sit down and say, look, we put this plan together 5-10 years ago, and it was especially put together for this circumstance. And having those easier conversations are nice to have.
Absolutely. Prashant, in your opinion, what sets Elite Income Advisors apart from other financial planners, if you will?
I think it's the entire Elite Income experience, right?
Okay.
And so what I mean by that is we're taking a look at every single part of your plan, right? A lot of times when you go to some of the major firms out there who are focused on just helping you accumulate assets, they're big companies that are designed to kind of like treat you like a number, right? For us, we custom tailor every single financial plan and retirement plan to the people that we're speaking with. No two plans are identical. And so what that means is we'll sit down with you and we'll outline what your dreams and your goals are. When you come in to sit down with Nick and myself, it's not about us. You've taken the time to invest to come into our office and sit down with us, and that meeting is all about you. So you tell us what's important to you, and we'll help you custom tailor a plan to see if we can get you on the right track to having everything that you want. Because ultimately, it's not about us, it's about you.
Nick, let's talk about that first consultation. How long do you typically set aside for someone who's brand new?
Well, life is very busy, and we understand that. We understand that it's hard to get off of work. It's hard to have somebody take care of your kids, or you might be helping right now. You might be helping your grandkids. I hear this all the time. I'm helping my grandkids with virtual school. So we understand that our clients, their time is very valuable. So we appreciate that. We don't like to spend more than an hour on an initial consultation because we want to make sure we cover the fine, as Prashant said, we want to know about them and find out what's important to them. But we don't want to get too far beyond that initially. We're trying to get to know them. They're trying to get to know us. And we want to take that time to find out as much about them as we can in that hour that we spend with them. We'll sit down with you for a couple other meetings after that, but initially it's about an hour, and then we start to put the plan in place.
Okay. Prashant, if someone's in the viewing audience today and they're having a cup of coffee with their spouse, they're looking at each other right now going, oh my gosh, we haven't heard from our advisor in over a year. Is that a red flag in your opinion?
I think it is. I think it is, especially given how hectic of a year it's been. You know, I think the market has changed a lot. Especially with everything going on in Washington, D.C., that's caused a lot of a domino effect. And I think that your advisor, it's part of their responsibility to be in touch with you, to let you know that you're still going to be okay. I really believe that, right? And so we like to see our clients 2, 3, 4 times a year, or as needed. Okay. Right? So as needed means you buy a house, you sell a house. Big money comes into your household, or big money has to go out of your household. We want to meet with you to update your financial plan to make sure that that is still going to keep you on track. And so even though we meet at a minimum of 2 or 3 times a year, as needed is always available to every single one of our clients. There is no cost for you to come in and see us. You know, I know other professions charge you by the hour and things like that. We don't do any of that because when we're involved with you, your success is directly linked to our success. And so we're going to make sure that we keep you on track as those things come up to manage you through that and make sure that you're always going to be okay. Okay.
Nick, is it still the #1 fear that retirement people have, actually approaching retirement, I should say, is that they're going to run out of money?
I think so. I hear it quite often, and I do hear it a lot from our female, the widowed clients, that, you know, my husband's gone, my spouse is gone, what am I going to do? But it is a fear. But if you've put together the proper plan and all of your income payouts, your pension, your Social Security, your IRAs, as long as they're working hand in hand with each other, then we can put together that plan that says, no, don't worry about that. But we still get those calls. I mean, it is a common fear that I didn't save well enough, my pension's not big enough, what if Social Security is not around? What, all these different things come into play. So absolutely, it is a big concern, but we take care of that in the planning process.
Okay, thank you so much, Nick. Prashant, this is the perfect time for us to open up the phone lines again to the viewing audience at home. Can you tell them what they can expect to receive by calling in?
Absolutely. So when you call in to 833-308-5200, you'll be able to set an appointment in our office, one of our offices, either in Columbia or Annapolis, to meet with Nick or myself or another member of our team. And when we meet with you, we'll sit down and we'll simply just get to know you over the course of 45 minutes to an hour. And when we schedule you to come back and see us, we'll put together a real financial plan for you, which will show you what your income is going to look like for the rest of your life, what happens to that income when one of you passes away if you're married, and that'll give you a good idea of where you're going to stand both now and in the future. And I'll tell you what, the hardest part about financial planning is simply taking that first step. So the hardest thing you might do today is pick up the phone and call 833-308-5200. 5200. And if you can do that, then we'll get you on track to the retirement that you deserve.
I love that. And again, it's a no judgment zone, right? When you come
Absolutely.
into the
100%.
office, because everyone's made mistakes in their life. And so you've heard it all and you're there to help everyone.
Yep.
We have heard it all.
To the viewers at home, once again, the phone lines are now open. That number to call is 833-308-5200. As Prashant mentioned, there are 10 spots available this week, but they know that you want to have time to come in and sit with them. So please take the opportunity to call right now, 833-308-5200. We'll be right back after this very short commercial break.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia Defazio, and I'm joined today by Prashant Sabapathi and Nick Innerbichler of Elite Income Advisors. Gentlemen, I think a lot of people in the viewing audience are probably asking this question, so let me just go ahead and throw it at you. Prashant, how are you able to do the complimentary consultations? How are you able to actually do that without charging a fee, if you will? Yes.
You know, we get this question a lot. I was meeting with a caller from Marriottsville last week, and she asked me the same thing. It seems like you guys are doing a lot of work here. How are you able to do it for free? And it's a great question. I think part of the reason why we do it completely complimentary is that we used to charge $1,000 or $1,500 just to create a plan. But oftentimes when we presented those plans to people, we'd find that they really want to work with us because they love the plan. But as we go through the process, we might find that you're not a good fit for us, or we're simply not a good fit for you, right? And it's kind of awkward when someone's paid you $1,000 or $1,500 to hand them a plan and say, you know, go do this with somebody else, right? And so what we do is when we take you through our process, the reason we keep it complimentary is because we want you to be a good fit for us, and we want us to be a good fit for you. It's a two-way street, and that way, if at the end of the process we find that we're not a good fit for each other, we can go our separate ways and you know, still be on good terms. I always say to people, if I see you around town, I'll still say hello, I'll still shake your hand. Well, I guess maybe not shake your hand these days, but elbows, yeah. But the reason we do it complimentary is so that we can be 100% sure that we're a good fit for each other, because when we work with our clients, we're not in it to work with you for a year or two. We want a long-term relationship where we know we're going to work together for 10, 15, 20 years. And that's why we do things the way that we do.
Absolutely. And Nick, are you able to get a good sense on the first consultation if you're going to be a good fit with someone? I'm assuming that probably you could.
Sometimes. I've had people tell me in the past that I have I establish rapport very well with people. I find common interest very quickly, whether it's, I love food, so I talk about food a lot. But I have a good sense within the first, probably first meeting to the second, early on in the second meeting, that we're a good fit. But that may not always be the case. We might find out that their behavior, quote unquote, you know, spending, whatever it might be, just may not be how we handle our clients, right? We want our clients to be successful in retirement. And if we see things in their past behavior, spending wise, or they talk about they have this house and they've got that house and they've got large debt, that's not necessarily the best fit for us, right? Because we want clients to be as successful as possible in retirement. We want them to go into retirement and have the greatest chance of success. And that's where we find the best fits, are those types of clients.
Absolutely. And by the way, I love food too. That's a great topic for a show. Let's just talk all about food. So Prashant, if someone is in the viewing audience right now and perhaps they're 5 years away from retirement, what kind of advice can you give them today?
I think that you have to start today, right? That's the biggest thing. I have 4 or 5 different wealth principles that I got from one of my best mentors. His name's Scott Keffer, and one of the things that he taught me is always encourage people to start today. Number 2 is hire a specialist. You know, I use a lot of medical analogies because I come from a family of physicians, but to me, it's like if I needed knee surgery, I'm not going to go see a pediatrician to do my knee surgery, right?
Exactly.
And so it's the same type of thing when you're getting ready to retire, is you want to hire a specialist. The person who's been helping you accumulate money for the last 10 or 15 years may not be the best person to help you distribute that money and make it last the rest of your lifetime. It's not because they're not well-intentioned or that they're not capable of doing it. It's more so that they just don't have the specialty. And so that's why we always say start today, hire a specialist. Those are 2 of the biggest things that I would tell people.
So gentlemen, what I'm hearing is the most important thing to get through not only 2021, but the years following that will be having that true written comprehensive retirement plan put in place for that person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Most important thing.
I think it's not really a plan if it's not in writing. You know?
I agree.
We can have statements. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say statements aren't a plan.
Exactly.
And most people don't understand what a statement says anyway. They might just go right in the shredder the second they come in their house. So for us, it's having that written plan and following it and revisiting it, making sure that when something happens like we saw in the market early in 2020, making sure that that doesn't impact our plan.
Absolutely. Well, Prashant, we only have about a minute left in the show this week. Do you want to tell the viewers one more time what they can expect to receive by calling in?
Sure thing. So if you call in, the phone number is 833-308-5200. You'll be able to schedule a time to meet in our office with Nick, myself, or one of our other fiduciaries. And when you meet with us, we'll get to know each other and see if we can design a plan for you, which will include that income for life report. It'll also include a Social Security timing report, and we haven't even talked about the investment analysis that we do. It's completely complimentary. Our offices are in person, following all CDC guidelines. Everyone has a mask. We'll give you one if you don't have one. But I encourage you to call us and schedule that appointment for the first 10 callers only.
Prashant, thank you so much. Nick, thank you so much. Another great show this week. To the viewers at home, most importantly, thank you for spending time with us. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. We'll see you next week.